3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Hello, internet world. I am going to try to finish this fucking story tonight. And then move on to the next one. Ah, so grainy. Maybe let's turn off this light in the back. Okay. Where was I? I'm gonna try and just shoot through the whole rest. Actually, I don't know if I can. It is kind of long. Let's see how far I get in 20 minutes. Okay. If any more rants come out of this. Funny way to try and stop it then. Sheena spat back to a slight echo from the barn walls. Scare me half to death. It does a lot of good for some people. Tanner tried to reason. Yeah, who? Bunch of fucking subs that are even more sub than this motherfucking subs. To know that someone strong is what? Sheena screamed back, cutting him off. Is gonna have me raped? He actually said it. Tanner stood back, struck silent. Were you? What? Sheena squinted at him, then snorted in disgust. No, I was not, he spat when he realized what the man was alluding to. Good God. Ugh, you're disgusting. Well, I never was, and I don't plan to ever be. Okay, Tanner said. I'm sorry. I won't ever try and grab you again, alright? Yeah, I wish it was that easy in real life. Just tell somebody what's up, and then they're like, I'll never do it again. Yeah, what a fantasy. Sheena and Jack just glared, keeping their eyes on Tanner. They slowly began to back away from the barn door, like they were campers, and he a bear. Sheena shook his head slowly. No, it's easy to say you're sorry. It takes time to really mean it. Okay, so I'm thinking like all that annoying shit that I was ranting about, it was all for the purpose of this, so that they could be right and Tanner could be wrong, and they could rub his face in it, but I don't know, man. It just, I don't know. It's just not really worth it. Like, I turn the camera down so you can see Quincy. You still can't really see him. Quincy, oh, there he is. Oh, my good boy. Okay. The next chapter is chapter 8, and it's called Fan, which is spelled P-H-A-N, like the name. So I'm guessing somebody Asian is gonna appear. Tanner had been watching the boys. After that morning, though, he was taking it slow. Good. He should... It's just like... It's just so stupid that he would even go that route at all, but I have said enough. Not that he thought this farm was more than he could handle. No, never. But it did make him think. Every person must be reached on a different level. He had to know where exactly to tap in. Each one of them would come around in time, he said to himself. He would conquer them all. He should be reveling in the challenge. Take this young man with the black hair, for example. He was clearly driven by fear. He seemed beyond function because of it, given that was why he was here. But maybe, Tanner thought to himself, I can harness that fear. I can use it how I see fit. So now he's just really trying to control them. Tanner's, like, creepy side is really showing. Oh, do you see him roll? Rolly kitty. Okay. What was that young man's name again? Shane? Shiner? Something with a sh sound. He couldn't remember it was Sheena. He was pretty sure. When that small Polynesian boy in the barn had shouted it out, it sounded something at least along those lines. Is that what Jackie? Jackie is supposed to be Polynesian? I didn't even remember that. Oh Lord, the Polynesian boy, running around with no clothing, practically naked. And that other one in the field, eating the hoof. True, his behavior was not as bad, but still, if Tanner could have his way, he would have them all checked for worms and parasites. Ew. They all needed a lot of work. The sun was setting on the land. Tanner had spent a good amount of the day walking on the other side of the land, on the back side of the house. The front side, where he had spent the morning, was all crops and a view of the next farm over, and that empty barn, of course. The back side was more devoted to animals, farm life, and also the horses, which the captain boarded. The captain, he paused to laugh again, but in any case, he did take good care of those creatures. Mostly they were from fellow state-subsidized programs, like attracted like, apparently. Really, what personal owner of a horse would allow their animal to be put up here? There was stigma, and although Tanner would never admit it out loud, after what he had seen here, it was well-placed stigma. Maybe just not towards the boys, towards the owner, so he's blaming the captain, I suppose. Tanner had captured a chicken. Tanner just loves capturing things, doesn't he? They were tame anyway. All you had to do was reach down, and if you were quick enough and didn't hesitate, pluck one up. Now the little thing was sitting in the crook of his arm, feet dangling, head bobbing curiously around, eyes blinking, clucking. Tanner pet the feathers. It was cute. Yeah, I guess that's like a metaphor for how he wishes like all the dudes would be. Like, just like obedient and quiet and like subservient and shit. Chickens were simple creatures. The sound of the whistle cut through the air like a sudden whip. Tanner looked up. What was that? And then he remembered what the captain had told him. Carefully, he put down the chicken in the pen and nudged it towards the hen house. It sat down on the ground. It didn't want to go. By the time Tanner got to the farmhouse, a few of the boys were still running to the porch of the house, although most were already standing in a jumbly bundle right outside, itching to go, just bursting for a sign from the captain. A couple more feisty ones kept darting up on the porch, pretending they were going to dodge around the captain. One was very bold. It was, Tanner was sure of it, that same redhead from the field, the one eating the hoof. The other one was more of a stand out in this crowd. His brown hair was not only curly, but short, and Tanner could have sworn he saw this boy wearing glasses before, although he was not wearing them now. Is that Flyer? After one or two bold leaps up on the steps and getting glares from the captain as he blew the whistle, the curly-haired farmhand was done. He slunk back down to wait with his peers. Flyer got it so bad, like, both times. I'm surprised he has so much energy. The captain's gonna be like, you better sit down before I waterboard you again, or whatever. But the redhead, he was a troublemaker. He stayed on the porch, dancing around the captain, sticking out his tongue to his glares, and trying to dart around him to the front door. They got a lot of nerve, considering how fucking slapped up the captain got them before. He was really, like, going in, so I'm surprised they're not all just, like, terrified of him. The captain, at last, dropped his whistle. It hung back against his chest on a string, and in a rapid instant, before Goldie could drop his act and run, the captain grabbed him by the front of his shirt and slapped him hard in the side of his face. Of course he did. The other boys cringed. So did Tanner. See how quickly we go from, like, dancing around having fun to, like, people being hit? But he doubted it was for the same reason. He had a couple of words for the captain after dinner. That's funny. The captain pushed Goldie away from him, and the struck redhead dashed down off the porch back to the group. Once more the captain blew the whistle, but it was just for closing. He was more or less sure that they were all there. He dropped the whistle once more and began to count them subtly. Tanner himself surveyed the ground. There were more than he thought, give or take around 20. He picked out the ones he knew, the slightly older one with the white hair, and that awful scar, the blonde with a bit of a big nose who had been there with him at the fence. The tall mocha-skinned boy who had been on the fence. He looked as scared and shaky, and hiding behind his hair as he had out in the field. Then there was the one from that day, the one with the midnight black hair, But where was his companion? As hard as Tanner looked and searched, he could not find a trace of that short, bushy-haired farmhand. Alright, the captain gave a broad motion with his hand. Come on in. He seemed satisfied with his count. As soon as he gave his signal, one or two of the boys whipped with excitement, and their cluster of standing bodies ruptured, sending them all running at different speeds into the house. Tanner hurried up to meet the captain. Wait, the captain, ruffling one boy's hair as he dashed past, looked up and over at Tanner. What is it? He asked simply. I think you're missing a boy, Tanner answered quickly. The captain cocked his head slightly. Which one? Tanner looked slightly away. I don't know his name. He's a little thing. He's short. He has sort of red-brown, dark hair and dark kind of skin. I think maybe an islander. Now the captain looked even more confused. He gave a slight laugh. I don't have any farmhands by that description, he answered. It may have been a stray. Tanner was taken back, but he remembered the young man's sparse clothing. A stray? He said. Don't you think that's a little derogatory? Now he cares about what's derogatory. The captain laughed in a full, hearty way. Derogatory? How? I'd call them runaways, but they're mostly legal adults. Setting his hands on his hips, he shook his head. That got a bit of a smile out of him. They're good men. If they come to torture my boys, I run them out. I know how to do that, but a lot are like volunteers. They're helpful. They just want a place to be. But, Tanner replied, don't you think? He didn't finish his sentence, merely gestured. What? The captain said, waiting for the rest of his answer, but it didn't come. Let's talk later, the captain finished. I have to go in for the boys. He headed for the door, but gestured once more to Tanner, looking back over his shoulder at him. Come in, you're welcome for dinner. Well, I hope so. I mean, if Tanner's living there with them, he's not going to be like, no, you're not allowed to have any food. Like, you have to just go sit outside while we all have dinner. Like, what the fuck is that? They were all seated around the table, full of boys, a lot of them already beginning to eat. The ones who couldn't fit around the table were at the sides, sitting on a dining room bureau, pushed up against the wall, perched on the windowsill and on small end tables, all pushed back away from the dining table, so as to give room. They were all eating like bandits. Nibbling on pieces out of the palms of their hands. They don't give them fucking forks and spoons and shit. Some anxious, some relaxed. Some looking up over their food warily. Some who did not have a place at the table were reaching over the shoulders of those sitting to pick up another roll of bread or half an ear of corn, and then scurry back to their perch on the wall. The captain entered the dining room with Tanner by his side and glanced around. Hey, he bellowed, of course, his favorite way of talking, but somewhat in humor. Oh my god, Captain's joking around now? He has humor? The fuck is that? Still, they all looked up at him. All 20 or so pairs of eyes. That's like 40 eyes. Unless one of them has like one eye or something, which I wouldn't be surprised. Some frantically chewing to finish what was in their hands, as if it would be taken from them. Some instantly set down their meal. The captain chuckled lightly. Don't be nervous, he said. You all worked hard today. Go ahead and eat. Don't forget to leave some for Mr. Yule here. Tanner laughed slightly. He looked around, preoccupied at the crowd, whose various colors of irises now all seemed fixated on him in overwhelming stillness. You really don't have to, Tanner murmured privately. Oh, the captain said, come on. He turned them to address the room again. Hey, and all of you, don't forget to thank Ashley. He worked all day to cook for you, and get his germs all in it. The captain turned, then, to head out the door, peek into the kitchen, and pull out a pair of spare chairs for he and Tanner. Tanner surveyed the room again. The farmhands didn't waste a moment's hesitation in returning to their dinner, but Tanner's eyes fell on Ashley. The boy was seated at the table, the only one with a bowl in front of him but no food. He was pale as cocaine, but was smiling shyly and managing just the tiniest blush at the captain's compliment. Yeah, when does he ever fucking compliment him? The whole fucking first couple chapters just show he's a fucking maniac, and now all of a sudden he wants to be like Mr. Nice Guy. Tanner approached a little closer. He smiled reservedly, remembering how the blonde boy had reacted last time. Fucking all of them reacted weirdly. But this might be different. Now the ice was broken, and here he was, surrounded by friends. He pointed casually to the boy. "You're Ashley, aren't you? Is he doing this in front of the whole room?" The child lifted his head. Tanner could clearly see the black birthmark spot spread across his lower lip, but before he could say a word, "Hey," a redhead sitting next to Ashley nudged him. Tanner would swear that was not the same troublemaker who had leapt up on the porch before, but he wasn't sure. He couldn't be sure. Ashley tilted his head to his neighbor. "Yeah? Did you really make this stuff?" Ashley ran a hand shyly through his dandelion hair. He did stand out. Tanner couldn't help repeating to himself. He was cleaner than all the rest from not having been outdoors. But I thought he was supposed to be like all gross because he was like sick or whatever. Blah blah blah. Rather than their t-shirts and undershirts, he wore a white gypsy shirt. What the fuck is a gypsy shirt? Like a bell sleeve or something? Delicate looking off his shoulders. And aside from it all, God, Tanner couldn't help but thinking, his baby-like face, he really was just a child. Tanner sounds like he has the hots for Ashley. "Yeah, I cooked it." The redhead gave an icy stare and set his slice of bread sharply down on the table. He stood up, wiggled out of his chair, and turned to go, all in seconds. "Hey," Tanner called out, not sharply, not angry, but perturbed. What's going on?" "That's fucking rude." "Yeah, that was pretty fucking rude. Captain's not gonna whoop this guy's ass for that." Now the redhead stopped and gave him a glare too. He's trying to start some shit. Everything was going nice. We were finally having a nice time. Now this fucking asshole trying to start all this shit. The others only took half a second to notice. Their ears were alert. They all began to put their food down. What is the matter?" Tanner asked in confusion. "Where's the captain? He's just not saying shit. It's like he's just letting everything play out." "I ain't eating anything from that little whore," the redhead snapped, pointing an accusing finger at Ashley. "He already got me sick once. He's not gonna do it again. This fucking diseased white trash cunt." Ooh, man, what a diss. "Hey," Tanner raised his hands. Hey. We only had like 5 minutes of just like niceness, and now it's all fucked up. Hey, another boy mocked. I like that. In a high, snotty voice. "God, disgusting," another one murmured. They're all shady. He put half a corn cob down on the windowsill and made for the door. Wait, did I skip a page? No, it's the right one. "Sit down," Tanner said more sternly. The stern voice again. "Come and eat." "That is very rude." "Big fucking deal," the first redhead muttered. Ashley tucked his head far down, sulking in shame and fear. I don't think it's dirty," another voice said. This one came from a slightly bigger, stocky young man with tawny hair. He picked with a fork at the potatoes in his bowl, but what he may have had in size, he lacked in confidence. He stared downwards, and his voice was soft and unsteady. "Shut up, Jacob," the redhead snapped across the table. Yak, you big fucking stupid Dutchman. What the fuck?" quiet. Hey, you listen here. Tanner came forwards then, sudden and quickly, trying to get around the table to catch the redhead. No, he said to himself, this couldn't be the one from before. This one had a different face. Too many freckles and more brown in the color of his hair. Here's the 20-minute mark.